For those who are using your psalm books, the invitation song will be number 125 after our devotional thought. So I want to tell you a little story about myself. And when I was in ninth grade, JV football started in ninth grade and went through 10th grade. Then you upgraded to varsity 11th through 12th grade. And me being a freshman that year was super excited. I'd played football for a few years before that, done the little peewee thing where your helmet's way bigger than your body is. But then I've now upgraded finally, and it might still look like that at the time because, wasn't very big. I was pretty shrimpy. But at the time, I was just really excited to be there. But I had a guy starting in front of me. He was a 10th grader, and his name was Joe Man. And Joe Man happened to be on the field, and he got injured. And me and him both played safety at the time. And so Coach goes, "Ross, come on over here. It's time for you to get in there." Actually, they called me Dress for Less because there was another Josh on the team. Maybe some of y'all will get that later. But he said, "Ross, come on over. You're going to be hopping on the field now, and Joe Man's hurt, so you're going to go in. But Josh, I want you to be prepared because the situation I was thrown in was we were on like the 3-yard line before they were about to score. And it was already a rough game. We were getting blown out, and Coach said, go in there and do your job. He said, we're going to have a play here. And in this play, I was supposed to be covering the A gap on the line. On the 3-yard line, you kind of expect someone to be running the ball, so that's what they're going to probably do. And Coach says, your role on this play is to cover the A gap. That means if there's a run up the middle, you stop whoever's coming through that A gap. Remember, shrimpy little Josh at the time. So I go, and the play is getting ready, and everyone had their assignments, and I know mine. And Coach called it perfectly. I run to that line of scrimmage, and it's like the Red Sea was parting in front of me kind of thing, because linemen went that way and linemen went that way, and I'm sitting on that line of scrimmage, and I'm just waiting. And I see this man coming at me. And for a moment, I recall stopping him. And then the next moment, I did not stop him, and we're both laying in the end zone. And the next, I'm flat on my back, and things kind of hurt at that moment, and the other team had scored. And the rest of the story kind of ends with the ref thought I had broke my spine. I was carted off the field because of this. I went to a chiropractor appointment just a few days later, and the monitors at the chiropractor appointment had indicated that I had simulated something like a major vehicle accident. So that was not really a great day. What's even funnier is that we had games in the middle of the week, and so I didn't go to school the next day because we stayed at the hospital really late, and there was like a memorial for me at school pretty much. They thought I had died. So as memorable as this story was for me, and maybe it shouldn't be as memorable, but I can clearly remember running on the field, and the first thing I did, because Coach prepared me, he said, get ready. The first thing I remember looking at was that man of a running back. And I, in that moment, had been confronted with worry that I'm not going to be able to do my assignment, that I'm not going to be able to do the job I was placed to do. And I just thought in this situation, yeah, maybe I can do it, but I'll probably lose. And I did lose, but I already, in a way, had defeated myself because I had already made a notion that I wasn't going to do it, that I was not good enough. I did not believe I could handle the task. The kid that I attempted to tackle, I'm pretty sure he's either an NFL or from birth was genetically engineered for pain. But regardless of that, I placed myself in a situation where I was going to lose because I was not in it. They say that the game is 90% mental and 10% physical, and I lost every bit of that mental battle before that moment. But I think in a Christian's lifestyle, it kind of seems similar. You can probably pull a lot of application thoughts of where you're going with this. But I want to recall in 1 Samuel chapter 16, we see David. Of course, we know David to be as great as he was. He was a man who was after God's own heart, known to be that title later on in life. But in chapter 16 in 1 Samuel, all of his brothers have gone off to war, but somehow he had found favor with King Saul. David had found favor with King Saul, and so he was placed in the service of the king, but would often go back home to help his father, I guess, on the farm and tend the sheep as what was his normal job. So we get into chapter 17, and Goliath challenges Israel for 40 days, it seems like, and that's actually what we're told, at 40 days, and no champion would come forward for Israel to battle him, because everyone kind of knew that the outcome was probably going to be death. And then, back then, if a champion would defeat another champion, there would have to be no war, no extra bloodshed, but those other people would most likely be enslaved, whose champion had lost in that situation. So David, in a way, had no business being right next to the battlefield. The closest he got would be probably as close as the king Saul would ever had gotten to the field. But David had no business being there, it seems like. And David rose to this challenge. When Goliath had been challenging them for 40 days and they're just in fear, his father sent him to go check on his brothers, and that's when David rose to the challenge. 1 Samuel 17, verse 37, is a very powerful statement from David, who's declared to be a boy at this time. 17, verse 37, and David said, "The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hands of the Philistine." And Saul said to David, "Go, and the Lord will be with you." I'll tell you what, if you can defeat a bear and if you can defeat a lion, that's probably a pretty good resume. But you're going up against a giant. And the description that it gives Goliath is nothing short of pretty amazing for anybody of that stature in that day. Physically and just everything about him was just impressive almost. But we have this boy who comes forward to do the work. David did not allow this to get to him. He did not put any doubts in his head. And if we are being honest, self-confidence may be something that we all need to work on when it comes to our spiritual lives. David fought off lions and bears before Goliath, but when the pressure was on and when all eyes were watching him, he did not back down. He also had the confidence in God, and God would see him through this situation. So if a Christian does nothing to combat the adversary, we will just cover ourselves in fear. We will cower in the corner just like Israel did for 40 days. Sin can only take advantage if you were to allow it to do so. Spiritual laziness leads to spiritual error, and those errors can become our spiritual failure. When we allow ourselves to slip up here and there, we leave room for eternal failure. Luckily, the one point in time where we can truly fail is what's going to be on that judgment day. So that can only mean right now we have the time to fix things here on this earth. While we have our time, we have the ability to be faithful and confident in what God can do for us. He's put us in positions, and we've been in positions where we've had to test our faith, where we've put our abilities to work just like David did. When there was an opportunity, David saw that he could do something. Sometimes it seems like to do something is the hardest thing for us. When it comes to our confidence, we have all the confidence in the world because we have a God who can do anything. And sometimes when we ask of him, he may not answer us in the way we want to right then, but we're not looking to the immediate things. We're looking to the heavenly things. And that is the opportunity that we need to take tonight. Tomorrow, maybe the next day after that, sometime, but don't wait too long because it says that he is coming again like a thief in the night. Is there spiritual error in your life that has been building up, that has been added to time and time again? You've not done a thing about it. Or have you turned your life over to Christ, yet you've kind of been struggling in your confidence in what you can do? Jesus is the expert, and there's no one else, at taking away your burdens, at taking away the sins of this world. No one else, nothing else can compare to that. Jesus is that answer. Have you made that commitment, but you see the Goliaths in your lives, the giants who are holding you back or trying to get in the way of what you're wanting to do, but you do nothing about it? We want to pray for you. We want to help you get back to that confident spot in your life where you know you need to be when it comes to that. God's looking for true worshipers, but in a way you can almost change that terminology in John 4 to confident followers too. He's looking for those people who do so in spirit and truth. If you've been struggling with those things, we'd ask that you'd come now while we stand and sing this song of invitation.